All right, so imagine this. You've built your entire business, your whole brand, on being the Fort Knox of messaging. You're the digital vault, right? The place where privacy reigns supreme no matter what. Then all of a sudden, bam, you decide to just hand out the blueprints to that vault. Feels a little off, doesn't it?
Well, that's kind of what's going on with Telegram right now, and we're going to break down why this is way bigger than just some routine policy update.
Yeah, it's definitely making waves.
You've probably heard of Telegram, right? It's that app, the one everyone whispers about because it's supposed to be ultra secure, super private. But those whispers, they've gotten a lot louder lately, and not for good reasons. We're not just going to look at what Telegram's new policy says on paper, but what it actually means for you, me, and the entire future of online privacy. This is some serious stuff.
Absolutely, it has huge implications. So here's the headline. Telegram is changing things up. They're going to start handing over user data if a government comes knocking with a warrant. We're talking IP addresses, phone numbers, the works.
And to really grasp why this is causing such an uproar, you got to understand, Telegram wasn't just privacy-focused. They built their entire reputation on resisting this kind of data sharing. They were practically the poster child for it. This move puts them a lot closer to, say, Meta, who've been sharing this kind of data with governments for a while now.
It's like they were playing one game, and now they've switched playbooks completely. I mean, think back to 2018, Russia tried to block Telegram in their entire country because they wouldn't give up encryption keys. And Telegram, they held their ground, wouldn't budge. That's why this whole thing feels so sudden, like something shifted.
Right, and there's another layer to this whole thing, too, which makes it even more interesting. Telegram CEO, Pavel Durov, he had that run-in with the French authorities recently, got detained, and while he's denying the allegations, it seems like it might have been a catalyst for this policy change.
Wow, so we've got external pressure from governments, internal pressure from, well, let's just say, a memorable trip to France. Like the walls are closing in on Telegram, and maybe not just them, right? This feels like a trend. Governments wanting more control online, especially when it comes to encrypted messaging. They always say it's about security, but is it really that simple?
Yeah, look at Ukraine. They just banned Telegram on all government devices. It's definitely part of a bigger global trend, and it's tricky. Governments are trying to figure out how to balance the way the internet was originally intended to be a space for free expression, mostly with these very real concerns about security in our increasingly digital world.
Which leads us to the core issue, right? The classic battle of privacy versus safety. People were drawn to Telegram because it offered privacy, even anonymity. So is this a betrayal of their trust?
It's honestly a really complex question. On the one hand, you have this ideal of absolute privacy online, which sounds amazing on paper.
Right. Who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. But then you have the reality of these platforms, and how do you actually moderate content on such a massive scale? How do you stop the bad stuff while still protecting free speech? It's a tightrope walk.
And that's where Telegram's been criticized a lot, haven't they? That the platform's become a breeding ground for misinformation, hate speech, and worse.
And this is where that comparison to, say, WhatsApp comes up a lot. Meta, WhatsApp's parent company, they have those really strict limits on group sizes max of 1,000 members. Telegram, on the other hand, they allow groups of up to 200,000 people.
Which, I mean, let's be real, that's just asking for chaos. Imagine a town hall meeting with 200,000 people all talking at once. Good luck getting anything productive done, let alone moderating it.
Exactly. It feeds into that argument that when you have groups that big, it's almost impossible to moderate them effectively.
Right.
So where does that leave Telegram? Well, they're saying they'll use AI and human moderators to try and tackle harmful content.
But will that be enough to quiet the critics, especially now with this policy change? We're going to dig into that right after this.
So we were talking about AI and human moderators, and if that'll really cut it for Telegram's critics, especially now with this whole data sharing thing.
Yeah.
But even if they can pull it off, how's this new policy actually going to play out in the real world? Because, promises are easy to make. But
Oh, absolutely. It's always about the details, isn't it? They say they'll comply with valid legal requests, which sounds simple enough, but when you actually get down to it...
it gets complicated fast.
Exactly. What counts as valid in one country could be totally different somewhere else. Legal systems are messy like that, for sure. And our sources say they're planning to hand over IP addresses and phone numbers, which some people might brush off, right? So what? My data's already everywhere. But hold on. Think about someone living under a really oppressive government where staying anonymous online is the only way they can stay safe.
Huge difference.
Suddenly, those two pieces of data, they're not meaningless anymore.
It's like you've been living off the grid, staying hidden for your own safety, and someone just handed them a map to your front door. That's what has privacy advocates worried. Just because Telegram calls a request valid doesn't mean it actually holds up in countries with, let's say, flexible legal systems.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's say a government that's known for silencing its critics comes knocking, right? And they've got a request that, on paper, looks totally legit. Is Telegram actually equipped to look past that and be like, hold on, is this really on the level? Especially when the legal system itself might be part of the problem.
That's the big question, and the lack of clarity is concerning. They keep mentioning this dedicated team of moderators, but what does that even mean in practice?
I know, right? It's such a vague term. Are we talking about a bunch of interns juggling moderation between coffee runs? Or a whole team of, like, hotshot lawyers who specialize in digital rights across different countries? There's a world of difference there.
Oh, for sure. This isn't some small-time operation. They've got requests coming in from all over the globe. Democracies, authoritarian regimes, you name it. Hundreds of millions of users. It's a huge responsibility. And on top of that, it looks like this dedicated team is also supposed to be using AI to help fight the bad stuff.
Which brings up a whole other can of worms. I mean, AI is great at spotting patterns, but everyone knows it struggles with context, nuance, humor, satire. How do you program an algorithm to tell the difference between a genuine threat and a dumb joke? Or to know when political commentary goes too far and becomes dangerous? It's not easy, even for humans.
And that's the thing. Even if AI flags something as potentially harmful, who makes the final call? Is there a human expert involved, someone who gets the local language, the culture, the political climate, where that content came from? Or are these just going to be snap judgments made by an algorithm? Judgments that could have serious real-world consequences.
That's a heavy thought. And, we've been talking a lot about the challenges of moderation, the legal stuff. But what about the users? They're the ones caught in the middle of all this.
Oh, absolutely. It's fascinating from a psychology standpoint, Telegram built its entire brand on being the anti-Facebook, the privacy-focused alternative to the Silicon Valley giants. They were all about digital freedom, a refuge from the data-obsessed world out there.
Yeah, and it totally resonated with people. I mean, look at their user base, privacy advocates, journalists, activists, even your average person who just wants a messaging app that doesn't feel like it's spying on their every move.
And that's what makes this policy change so significant. It's not just tweaking a feature. It's like they're overhauling their entire identity. They've gone from these hardcore privacy defenders to, something a bit more ambiguous.
It's that friend who swore they'd never get a social media account, and then suddenly they're posting vacation selfies every 5 minutes. You're like, wait, is this the same person?
Exactly. Now users are left wondering, can Telegram actually make this new policy work while still clinging to that image of being privacy champions?
Yeah.
Have they switched sides in this whole debate? It's something their entire user base is grappling with right now.
Which leads to the million-dollar question. How are those users going to react? Will they trust that Telegram still has their best interests at heart, even as they're handing over data? Or are they going to jump ship to even more secure platforms, maybe even pushing those activities Telegram wants to stop further underground?
It's a crucial moment for Telegram, and it speaks to an even bigger question we're facing in this digital age.
Yeah.
Is true online privacy even possible anymore? Or are we always just one algorithm, one data request away from having our lives laid bare for anyone to see?
Wow, that's a question that goes way beyond just Telegram, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of our relationship with technology. And you know what? I think that's something worth exploring a little deeper. We'll do that right after this. We're back, and this whole Telegram thing has really got me thinking.
Yeah, for sure, you don't see a story every day that touches on this many big issues at once. Privacy, security, free speech, the role of tech in society. It's kind of a lot to unpack.
It really is. It's like someone took all the biggest questions we have about the internet, threw them into a blender and said, okay, now make sense of that.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
But really, though, I think this whole situation shows just how much we're at a crossroads with the internet. The decisions we make today about the rules, the values, all of it, those choices are going to shape what the digital world looks like for, our kids and grandkids.
Absolutely. And it's not even just about technology itself. It's about what kind of world we want to live in, online and offline. Do we want to live in a world where everything we do is tracked, where all our data is just out there for governments and corporations to do whatever they want with it?
Or do we want something different? A world where we can still have some privacy online, where people can speak their minds without worrying about being silenced or spied on, where the internet can still be a place for innovation, for connecting with each other, and even for some anonymity when we need it.
Those are the questions we should all be asking ourselves, not just as people who use these platforms, but as a society. that's trying to figure out how to live with this technology that's changing so fast.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with this thought. We've been talking a lot about Telegram today, but honestly, this issue is so much bigger than just one company or one app. This is about something that's fundamental to being human, that need to feel safe and secure, but also to have our own freedoms and our privacy and technology. It's pushing that struggle right to the forefront in a way we've never seen before.
It's a tightrope walk, that's for sure. And it means we've got to stay engaged. We've got to be willing to think critically about the choices we're making online. And we've got to be willing to demand more transparency from the companies that have so much power in the digital world.
So well said. So next time you're scrolling through your phone, right, or sending a message to a friend, just remember, every click, every share, every connection you make, that's a choice. You're choosing what kind of internet you want to be a part of. You're shaping the digital world that you and your kids and everyone after that is going to inherit. Choose wisely. This has been The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.